presence of beautiful objects. Whether people are necessarily aware of the impact that that's having on them or not, it is having an impact. I think beauty is a thing of value. I think that this program brings great value to this campus and to our other campuses in the system.
Tara and I met at a sculpture gathering in Abilene, and I just asked her, kind of nonchalantly, would you be interested in working together on a piece at some point?
And we presented models, and they liked our designs, but they had some other ideas in mind, that they wanted a bull and bear incorporated into the design, and we had actually shied away from that idea because they had some other bulls, but I didn't have any idea that Joe had made so many bulls in his life. And so I think it's a credit to him that he didn't just come in and say, well, I make bulls, let's get a bull out there.
We didn't really have a preconceived idea.
Yeah, we really didn't.
That, and then early on we started pricing materials and looking for materials. We found the pipe in Houston, which was handy because it was where the bender was. But we had to find all these people to work for us.
Getting involved with other people like architects and people who draw designs professionally so that someone else can build it. Getting all of those entities involved, that was really the first thing.
So like what I'm doing right now for Tara is taking these arcs, and they're all following just a set of rules that we can tweak, and so at the end we get like an Excel spreadsheet of all the pieces that we need to cut and how they're supposed to be cut, all the drawings, and if we want to go back and change some of the foundation kind of baseline curves in this particular instance, we can just move things around and it all just scales back and we have a new cut sheet ready to go.
And I told Tara at one point that I thought I'd done public art projects before, but I really probably hadn't after I'd done this one because of the magnitude of everything involved. But that's, after we got all those materials gathered up, then we started building both in Houston and in my studio in Thornton. I grew up in rural Texas. I grew up in one of the least populated counties in Texas, where there's less than 2,000 people live in 900 square miles here. I'm kind of fascinated by the Texas myth, Texas mystique. And everything's bigger, everything's stronger, everything's larger than life in Texas. And so I've always kind of used that. What you need to make sculpture of is what you know. What I do know about is rural Texas. And I really love the storytelling. I collect stories, local Texas stories, and I think that the basis for the narrative pieces is the storytelling. And that's one of the things I would do if I wasn't building art, is I would try to tell stories. The thing I think I'm the most pleased with is that the partnership with Tara has worked out really, really well. The analogy she made about that was that it was like marrying somebody after you met them 2 weeks before, and there's a lot of truth to that. We're in business together. We really didn't know each other for a long, long period of time before we did this, and there's been ups and downs. I wanted a woman partner because they think different, and I think we both bring equal things to the table because of that.
I grew up in a little town in western New York called Bath, New York. Right behind our house was like giant hill, giant forest. And we walked all around there, walked through cornfields, but really seeing all of that, I don't think I knew it at the time, but like all of that is sculpture, hay and corn, and all of it is sculptural. You know what I've learned? I've learned that it is impossible to not put yourself into your work, even when it's public art, with a very constrained call for proposals, for instance. Nature is still a huge influence, and I'm fascinated by people and their relationships and their interactions, and I think my experience has been the best pieces ignite a response, and the way to do that is to have it relate to people. So public sculpture, and the pipes. And then his paint,
I did one day when Augustine and I were working, I was just like, what? No one does anything like this with stainless steel because stainless steel was not meant to do that. It would be like, making a building out of ceramic. Like you don't do that. That's why you've never seen this.
Stainless steel is high maintenance. When you weld it, it moves so much more than steel. It's so much more sensitive. It's so much harder to move itself. So, Joe and I watched the process of them bending them. Joe and his assistant took them back, tacked things together. Augustine and I got them back. And then we had to really work to actually take them from tacked and kind of right to perfect. So we went through an amazing amount of labor preparing all of the pipes after they were bent, after they were cut, before we did too much with them so that they would be fully prepared to go. We had 240 bends and we had 200 pieces. That's what constructed the entire set of pipes.
I knew it was going to be difficult because what we were doing was not something that you can draw it on the computer, you can do all that, but when you really go to do it, all that's out the window. You just have to make it work.
But, we all hung in there and we all worked with it and it came out beautifully. And now we've accomplished this really cool thing that hardly anybody ever does with this material, which we did sort of unknowingly. I think that our work integrates the ideas and components of business along with how business is, people are the engine of business.
I think it's also about educating people, whether it's about art or whether it's about this specific piece of art. We've had people today comment about why there's art on the Tech campus and what this piece means, and it's surprising how many students walk by, and it makes them think about what business means, whether it's Wall Street or like I said, the commodity icons on the ground. But it makes you think about when you walk by. Even if you're unconsciously not really paying attention, at some point in the day you're going to go, what did that mean?
Joe makes a good point about starting a conversation, and I think part of the conversation is questions. Questions about the work itself, questions about themselves or what they're doing here or the school or whatever, but questions, and that seems to be the strong suit, I think, with public art, and hopefully the idea that it is in public versus hanging on a gallery wall. It brings those questions to more people.
I really think my favorite, without isolating one of the elements, I really think my favorite aspect of the piece is that it does incorporate Joe's work and Tara's work in a really interesting, cool way. Really blends what they both do individually kind of seamlessly. It looks like a cohesive project out there.
History is really recorded through art and words. And history is so important to the future. I think that's the biggest and most important thing about artwork. It's a diary of the times. The work that's produced by anyone, by folk artists, by narrative artists, by conceptual artists, by abstract artists, by contemporary artists. It is all a narrative and a record of the time, and you can look back, as is novels, for instance, but you can look back and you can look now and you can see what's going on in the world by looking at the art that's being made.